Mr. Spears engaged in self-dealing in connection with the purchase and sale of Britney's childhood home. So now we are going to start getting into all of his self-dealing and real estate scams, I think. So yeah, hang on tight, guys. It gets bumpier. Mr. Spears also engaged in self-dealing when, in his capacity as conservator, he purchased Britney's childhood home for himself. Jamie and Lynn originally purchased this address in Kentwood, Louisiana in July 1980, which was subdivided into 3 parcels. In August 1986, the bank foreclosed on the parcel of land that included Britney's family home. In February 2002, Bridgemore Timber LLC, an entity owned by Britney Spears, purchased this parcel from the bank for $56,000. In 2017, Mr. Spears petitioned the court to allow him to purchase this property from Bridgemore for $59,000. Among other reasons, Mr. Spears claimed this was the best interest of the conservatee, as the property had decreased significantly in value and had an ongoing tax burden and would result in a significant loss for Britney's estate. The court approved the sale to Mr. Spears on this basis. In fact, however, the tax burden for the property was less than $57. Wow. It was less than $57. But in February 2021, just 3 years after acquiring this property from his daughter's estate, Mr. Spears personally sold all 3 parcels for $275,000. So the bank takes it. He makes Britney buy it. He then makes up this shit about the tax shit to the court and says that how it'll be hurtful to Britney's estate. So he sells it to himself for $59,000, and then he turns around and sells it for $275,000. Nice. Mr. Spears sold land owned by Britney and at a heavy loss. So let's talk about real estate. In August 2002, Britney's entity, Bridgemore, purchased a 154.57 acre parcel of land in Louisiana for $682,500. In March 2016, while Mr. Spears was co-manager of Bridgemore, he sold this parcel of land to his niece and nephew, Laura and Brad Matthews, for $386,000 at a loss to the estate of almost $300,000. Mr. Spears also sold several additional Bridgemore properties to third parties at a collective loss over $800,000 to the estate. In May 2001, Bridgemore purchased 3 parcels of land in East Feliciana Parish, for $2.8 million. In February 2015, when Jamie managed Bridgemore, he sold these parcels of land to 3 separate parties for a total of $2.2 million at a loss of more than $500,000 to the estate. In August 2001, Bridgemore purchased 1 parcel of land for $346,000. In March 2015, Jamie sold this as well for $257,000 at a loss of almost $90,000. In August 2002, Bridgemore purchased 3 parcels of land for $1,083,107.36. It might be, they might have just not put the decimal there. But in August 2021, while Jamie was manager of Bridgemore, he sold these parcels of land for $815,000 at a loss of more than $250,000. So what it really looks like is Britney had all of these properties that she had bought, and Jamie sold them for like a huge loss to Britney, but he sold them, so he keeps that money, I'm guessing. I think. I'm not sure. Why else would he sell them, though? Unless he did what he did last time and, like, sold it to himself and then he sold it. I don't know. In 2 of the above 3 cases, Bridgemore reserved the rights to oil, gas, and minerals in the soil after the sale. However, per financial records provided by or on behalf of the former conservators, these leases only earned Bridgemore $125,000 during the entirety of the conservatorship, an amount that does not appear to justify any loss for more than $800,000 to the estate. Insane. So now let's look at Jamie. Jamie Spears paid personal living expenses with Britney's funds. Shocking. Of course he did. Jamie also caused the estate to pay for his own utility and other expenses at the Kentwood, Louisiana warehouse, where he resided for at least some period of time during the latter part of the conservatorship. The warehouse was owned by Britney Spears through her entity Bridgemore, and a December 2017 lease agreement between Spears Management, owned by Jamie, and Bridgemore, managed by Jamie, allowed Jamie Management to occupy bay number 3 at the warehouse. However, public records and media reports, including photographic evidence, show that Mr. Spears evidently occupied the entirety of the warehouse. So he had a lease agreement for just bay number 3, whatever that means. I'm sorry, I have no idea. But there's photographic evidence as well showing that he occupied the entirety of the warehouse, but his lease agreement was only for one spot, or I guess. Publicly available images of the property show that 3 larger bays being occupied by vehicles believed to belong to Jamie, including vehicles matching the description of the vehicles registered to Jamie's catering company, Cookin', Cruisin', and Chaos, as well as images of Mr. Spears sitting at a desk speaking with another person inside the smaller bay. Per the lease for the single warehouse bay, dated December 13th, 2017, Jamie was responsible for contracting directly for and paying all utilities needed, including telephone and alarm monitoring services. However, according to financial documentation obtained from temporary conservator John Zabel between 2012 and 2020, Bridgemore, not Jamie, paid more than $11,000 to AT&T for phone services at the warehouse, close to $9,000 to Advanced Multimedia Partners for lot improvements, repairs, maintenance, and alarm services for the warehouse. Mr. Spears did not undertake to pay for these services that he enjoyed, even after he signed the 2017 lease that expressly allocated those expenses to him. So he signed this lease stating that he would pay all this stuff, but of course he used Britney's money to pay for it. Advanced Multimedia Partners is an entity owned by, drumroll please, James P. Watson III, husband of Jamie Lynn Spears and son-in-law to Jamie Spears. What was all that stuff, Jamie Lynn? I never took a dime of my sister's money. I worked so hard for my own money. I've never took a dime from my sister. I am her biggest supporter. Let's take a look at this next page, shall we, guys? Mr. Spears allowed the estate to incur exorbitant expenses related to the Louisiana Residence. Well, let's take a look. Mr. Spears also used his daughter's money to pay substantial expenses for the renovation and upkeep of property owned by the estate on Lewiston Road in Kentwood, Louisiana. This is the, quote, Louisiana Residence. The property was purchased by Britney in October 1999 for $29,361. During the course of the conservatorship, the property had an estimated fair market value of between $570,000 and $740,000. Based upon my review of QuickBook data provided by TriStar, Britney's estate incurred exorbitant costs associated with the upkeep of this property between 2009 and 2019. And the estate paid more than $1.5 million in expenses, between 2 and 3 times the value of the house, with almost $1 million of that amount ostensibly spent on repairs and maintenance. See the table below. Oh, let's take a look, shall we? The first is I know the top's cut off a little bit. The first is the year, second is repairs and maintenance, and the third is the total expenses. So look at this. Between 10 years, does it miss a year? No, every single year. For 10 years, there was repairs and maintenance, $87,000. The total for that year, $137,000. I mean, look at all this. Let's look at the total. This $997,000 on repairs, and the total spent on this property was $1.5 million. $1,556,320.02. A reference in the first supplement to the 7th accounting current, the court properly asked Mr. Spears to justify the extraordinarily high expenses for the Louisiana Residence. I mean, yeah, like, of course, like, what the hell's going on? She doesn't even live there. What is going on? Instead of answering the court's actual inquiry about the high expenses associated with the Louisiana Residence, Mr. Spears evaded the question and responded, quote, the expenses referred to are not for the Louisiana property, but are for the conservatives' residence in California, end quote. That's a shocker. Are you sure? Because I don't think Britney had any work done at her house. So to my knowledge, Mr. Spears failed to provide an explanation for the disproportionately high expenditures. So it's very, very easy to go and see if Britney's house really had that much work done on it. Or just ask her. They can ask Britney. They can see if there's any person around the area, whatever company who did any repairs and maintenance. But if it was for Britney, if all that money was for Britney and her house in California, why was all the money given to Advanced Multimedia Partners, who is owned by Jamie Lynn's husband? I don't know. Financial documentation obtained from TriStar via the QuickBooks shows that $178,000 of more than $1.5 million was spent on the Louisiana Residence, and it was paid to Advanced Multimedia Partners, which is owned by Jamie Lynn's husband, Jamie Watson, or James Watson, whatever they call him. And that was for professional service fees, repairs and maintenance, and unidentified charges related to this property from 2012 to 2020. Notably, nearly $60,000 of the funds paid to the entity were paid in 2014, the same year that Mr. Spears evaded the court's request for an explanation for the extraordinarily high expenses associated with this property. Were they even doing any work to this property, or was he just giving all this money to Jamie Lynn through her husband's company? Jamie Lynn, I never took a dime from my sister. Oh, well, your husband sure did. I'm sure you know that he did that. Well, it's different if I get the money from Daddy and not my second mama. It's different. It's not Britney's money. My daddy gave it to us. I don't know. All right, guys, we are almost there. Gross inequities in the disposition of Britney's earnings. Let's take a look here. Kroll's forensic analysis of the available financial data has revealed inequities in the proportion of Britney's earnings that were paid at the direction of Jamie, including to himself, in comparison with amounts retained by Britney's estate. The publicly filed first account current shows that Britney's estate paid more than $2.7 million in attorney and other fees on behalf of the co-conservators, $400,000 for her court-appointed attorney's fees, and another $1 million in miscellaneous business expenses. These are not itemized. Oh, well. To cover these extraordinarily high expenses, needed to cooperate the conservatorship, To cover these extraordinarily high expenses needed to operate the conservatorship, Britney's estate had to borrow more than $3.9 million from pre-existing trusts that held outside of the estate, and another $5.7 million from her various entities. Seriously. So what was it that Jamie's new attorney said in court the other day that everybody was just like, you moron? He said, let's not forget why this conservatorship was put into place. Britney was irresponsible with her money, implying that this conservatorship had nothing to do with helping Britney or her mental health or anything, or keeping her safe. It had nothing to do with any of that. It had to do with she was irresponsible with her money and they wanted it. He pretty much said that it was put into place because she was irresponsible with her money. So to cover all of the money that they were spending, they had to pull in money to the conservatorship from Britney's outside trusts and entities. So he's spending so much money, they had to borrow $3.9 million from Britney's trusts and her other entities. But what was that? Jamie did such a great job at conservator. He got her estate back up to $60 million. Okay. As noted above, Jamie secured for himself a percentage of Britney's earnings on top of the six-figure salary that he was paid by the estate on a yearly basis. A salary that was intended to compensate him for his work as conservator, even though he was a fiduciary and had no apparent experience or talent as a manager or agent in the music business. Based on the QuickBooks data obtained from TriStar, Mr. Spears profited from his role as conservator in the amount of more than $6 million, which came directly from his daughter's estate as set forth in the chart below. And here that chart is, right here. This is the year, and this is James Spears Management and Company, how much he was paid. Total, $6.314 million. Awesome. Mr. Spears also approved the expenditures of more than $30 million in fees to be paid by the estate to dozens of firms between 2008 and 2020. Review of the fee applications and billing records submitted to the court show large payments for seemingly small matters, outsized fees for work of questionable or no benefit to Britney, and a great overlap in the work performed. As just one example, under the 12th accounting alone, Holland & Knight saw over $1.3 million in fees, $541,000, which was addressed on undefined media matters. That's just one example. She said that there was just large payments for small matters, like outsized fees for work that had nothing to do with Britney, and like a bunch of overlap in work, which I've seen that before. Like he had like 3 firms doing the same job, and that one firm could have done. He had like 3 firms doing the same job, and he was paying them all. I don't know why he was doing that, if he just wanted to spend Britney's money. I don't know if they were splitting it. I don't know. I mean, we won't ever know. I mean, maybe we will. This lady seems pretty good at her job. But her conclusion: during his tenure as conservator, Mr. Spears used his role as conservator to enrich himself and those loyal or useful to him, often at the expense and against the best interests of his own daughter, whose assets, welfare, and best interests he was supposed to protect. Beyond the financial misconduct, Mr. Spears had actual and apparent conflicts of interest in violation of industry norms and the rules governing the conduct of a conservator, and also engaged in and directed onto the engage in unconscionable violations of Britney's privacy and civil liberties, which also implicates federal or state criminal violations of the law. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. Executed January 13th, 2022, in Washington County, Utah, and this is Miss former federal agent Sharine Ebadi. Badass. That's what we're just gonna call her. Badass. I just want to add that all of this shit that we just went through, all of this shit that she got all of this without TriStar handing over the books, handing over pretty much anything, with TriStar refusing to cooperate and hand over what they're supposed to hand over, with Jamie refusing to cooperate. And hold on, let's talk for a second about Jamie refusing and not showing up to his deposition twice, and then trying to say that he wants Britney to be deposed. Like, I'm sorry? Like, what? We'll go through that in another video, but that was absolutely ridiculous. Like, you've tried to depose me twice, and I keep dodging that, but I want your client deposed. Like, I don't know who this man thinks he is, but the audacity of him makes me want to just smile. Like, I just can't. I can't. Okay, you guys, before we go, I want to go over this preliminary statement really quick and show you guys something. It's kind of funny. This preliminary statement says, in violation of California's standard of conduct for the conservator of the estate, basic conservatorship jurisprudence, and the law governing fiduciaries, James P. Spears enriched himself while acting as conservator at the expense of Britney Spears' estate, taking more than $6 million from his daughter's earnings while paying his numerous lawyers and others many millions more. Engaging in self-dealing, financial and business mismanagement, engaging in abusive and bullying conduct toward his daughter, deprived his daughter of fundamental civil liberties, including invading her privacy, potentially in violation of California's penal code and federal criminal law, became the subject of a domestic violence restraining order resulting from altercation with Britney Spears' children, engaged in chronic alcohol abuse, impairing his ability to serve faithfully, had actual or apparent conflicts of interest, and relatedly used his role as conservator to further his own personal business interests. Mr. Spears is still acting faithlessly, elevating his interests above those of his daughter and her estate, as his own petition demonstrates. As summarized herein and in the accompanying declaration of Sharine, the FBI agent, a highly decorated former FBI special agent with substantial expertise and experience investigating and prosecuting federal criminal matters, Jamie has failed to cooperate with this firm's ongoing investigation with Kroll, failed to produce relevant documentation and information in a timely, organized, and professional manner, and failed to comply with his discovery or obligations or answer basic financial questions, instead choosing obfuscation and stonewalling. It also bears nothing at the outset that Mr. Spears' petition is disappointingly misleading and in many respects outright deceptive. So the next thing I want to show you is, one good thing is when they do this trial thing, it's going to go to a different judge, which is a great thing because I think that Judge Penny would be kind of biased and not be able to judge fairly, because a lot of it, everybody's going to look right at her like, you're the one who let this go on. It was you. Like, why weren't you looking? What were you doing? So to avoid embarrassment and whatever, she is giving it to a different judge, which is great. So we're going to have somebody who's new and fresh eyes and fresh to the case and not corrupt, hopefully. Do I have to say allegedly? I don't know. In my opinion, there we go. But take a look at this. These are the questions that Britney's attorney, Matthew Rosengart, wants to ask. And I just wanted to show you real quick. One of them is he wants James to admit, while you were conservator of the state, assets beneficially owned by Britney were used to pay legal fees or representation for Lou Taylor. He wants him to admit that the estate of Britney had no legal obligation to pay for legal fees for Lou. He wants him to admit that when you were conservator of the state, you had a romantic relationship with Lou Taylor. Now, this was the question that has got everybody like, whoa. Because everybody's thought it before. I mean, I know I have. Everybody's had that in the back of their head where they thought that Jamie and Lou, there was something going on there. But it is so funny to see it in the request for admission. They want him to admit that him and Lou Taylor had a romantic relationship during the conservatorship. That is hilarious to me. He wants him to admit that when you were conservator of the estate, you approved on behalf of the estate of Britney for a payment of $80,000 to TriStar for accounting services. Admit that you were a conservator. You had no legal obligation to pay that $80,000, and you used the storage space belonging to Britney. Like, there's like 3 pages of this, but that one I wanted to show you guys about the romantic relationship with Lou Taylor. But anyway, I don't know how many parts this is going to be. It literally has taken me hours to film this, so 3-4 parts, I have no idea. I don't want it to be super long for you guys, but I do want you guys to get all this information because everything that this FBI agent has uncovered is amazing, and I don't want to just like gloss over it, because everything that she got is amazing, and everybody should know everything that he's done so far that they have uncovered. So I wanted to make this video and go through the whole thing with you guys. So we are finally done, and I am going to go back to the Britney and Jamie Lynn situation that I'm doing. I think I'm on like part 4 of that, and we'll get through all of that. And then there's a lot of other videos I want to do too, besides just the Britney stuff. But definitely let me know what you guys think of all of this stuff in the comment section down below. If you guys have made it to the end of this video or series, it might be, I don't know, it's so long. If you guys have made it to the end, thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It will help so much. And if you like videos like this, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. I do videos as much as I can. I wanted to do them every other day, but I got sick last week, and then my daughter got sick, and we've just been really sick here, and we actually just got snowed in today. We had like a huge blizzard, like it iced for a whole day, and then it snowed for a whole day. So we actually can't even go anywhere right now, so nothing else to do, but my daughter still is sick. But that's why I haven't made a video in like a week. But I usually try to make videos every other day. But anyway, definitely let me know what you guys think down below. I love to hear your thoughts and opinions about everything that we talk about on this channel. And definitely like this video if you liked it. Thank you for making it to the end. And please consider subscribing. And thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. It really means a lot to me. I love creating content for you guys, and I just really hope that you guys enjoy watching it as much as I enjoy making it for you guys. So I will see you guys in the next video. And remember, guys, in a world where you can be anything, please be kind to each other. Bye, guys.